All right, here we are. Welcome everyone to this installment of the Wellness Group webinar series. And I'm so excited to have so many people joining us on this call all across Ottawa and Canada. And we're all here to learn about 5 steps to getting the healthy body that you want. And I know that you may be on this call because you're struggling with your health, maybe a particular health challenge, or maybe you're just looking for some answers. Maybe you're just interested in learning more about how you can maximize your health. Either way, we intend to give you some excellent content tonight to help you to move toward getting that healthy body that you want. My name is Dr. John McPhee from the Wellness Group, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Dr. Michael Gibson, who's the owner of the Wellness Group. He's also co-creator of Life by Design and co-owner of CrossFit 613 in Canada. And if any of you have interacted with us at the Wellness Group, you'll know that we are super passionate about health and about the best ways of achieving health. And we were having a conversation in the pre-show here about what really drives us and what's kind of sits at the root of that passion. And I think it really comes down to this huge gap between the reality of where our health is in our current society and what we know to be the true potential that every human being has to be healthy. And Mike, I thought I'd get you to just expand on that concept. And you've been in practice for over 10 years now, and I know you've witnessed a lot of people go from struggling with their health to living the life that they deserve and the health that they want. So you could maybe just give some context to this conversation.
Absolutely. Thanks, John. I think there's been, many lessons learned and definitely some surprises over the, 10 plus years that I've been in practice. But one of the biggest ones, really resides around just the unbelievable gap, as you put it, between where people's health, is currently when they seek our help and then where they want it to be. And, just unbelievable to me over the years of stories I've heard from literally thousands of people, just where they're just unhappy with their health. Their vision for their health is just so far from where they are currently when they seek our help. So that's been just how wide that gap is. I never realized before I got into practice, and it's much further reaching than just our practice in Canada and Ottawa and even Canada. It stretches around the world. There's some startling stats even within Canada. I know there's about 150,000 deaths between cancer and heart disease every year in Canada alone. And that doesn't even count the people who are suffering and struggling with those diseases. Those are just the people who had died in one current year. Over 22 million children around the world have been determined to be obese. And that's one of the most sad stats of all. I think there's over 285 million people around the world who have been claimed to be diabetic. And I can go on and on and on. And I think it's sad, and unfortunately, it's not just a recent trend. This trend has been moving in this direction for over 50 years now. So it's startling, and I think that gap is widening. And I can only speak for myself, I guess, but when I wake up in the morning, when I look at my health, my vision for my health, my goals for my health, they are so far from what is average and what is normal. People in our community and in our country. Of course, we all have different perspectives on what good health and optimal health is. I know personally, I like to frame it around 3 ideas, and those ideas are first of all, when I do, leave this earth, I want to be able to look back and say I lived. I like the concept of a bucket list. Not that I should wait till I'm older to, start crossing things off, but I do have a list of things that I want to accomplish in my life, and I want to look back and say, I did all those things. I had all the experiences that I dreamt of having, and did I live? I want to be able to answer yes to that question. The second one is really about just relationships, and maybe framing it around, did I love? Did I build the relationships, especially with my family, and my kids, and my friends, and my community? I want to build those strong relationships that I find really valuable. And then the third component is really kind of bringing in the contribution And did I matter? What is my legacy? What did I leave? That's part of the reason why I do what I do. I created Life by Design, is to have a bigger impact. And so, health, can have many different facets to it, and can optimal health look very different to a lot of people. That's just my, how I plan on measuring my health, over my lifetime. But I couldn't agree with you more. The gap between the health reality for so many people is that gap between their reality and their vision is just, it's very wide, and it's getting wider.
Yeah, I definitely am witnessing that in practice as well. And one of the concepts that I learned from one of our colleagues that goes along well with this, from Dr. Jamie Richards, is this, this idea of, a lot of us, we frame our health around health problems, and kind of always focusing on the negative and digging out of the hole, so to speak, when, I find a really useful way of getting people to switch their thinking is just to get focused on thinking of their health as a project. And I know that we've had this conversation before of just, all the changes in consciousness that happen when we start to frame things around a project. All of a sudden, there's, as you mentioned, there's a vision that, imagine if you were building a house, and the first step would be to figure out what's that house going to look like. What are all the details that you want to have included in that house, and to come up with a really crystal clear picture of what that house, what the final vision would, what the reality would be at the end. And there would be a series of steps that you go through, and I think when people start to look at this, look at their health, first of all, acknowledge the reality of where they're at, observe the gap, accept where they are, and then start to build on that, and develop these, go through these 5 steps that we're going to talk about in a moment. And that's really, breaking it down into a project. And all of a sudden, there's a series of steps, and there's just about, once we're on the right set of steps, just about following them. So I thought we'd dive right into these 5 steps that we've identified that can really help people get the healthy body that they want. And the first one is exactly what we were talking about before, the vision. So, creating a really crystal clear vision for your health. And I know we talk a lot about this with our practice members in the office. One step that I take all my practice members through is looking at, what would your health look like? Like, if we could just wave a magic wand and create the health that you dream about, what would that look like? What would change about your current health that maybe things that you can't do right now that you'd like to be able to do, or the way that you feel right now that you'd rather not experience? And I think having that emotional engagement to the outcome that they're seeking. So, getting really crystal clear on that, what that future health can look like. And I know people sometimes can get caught up in, their current reality. I'm not sure if you find that, Mike. They get a little bit held back by, what's currently going on, instead of being able to focus on the potential of what's coming, what can be in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, especially just with, the stress coming at us from all different directions, whether it's work, whether it's family. Oftentimes, especially in our community, I find people tend to put their health last, right? It's like, I'll do this only when I take care of the kids, I take care of my sick parents, after I get work done. Taking care of themselves, getting to the gym, having the time to cook healthy meals, to do all the things they need to do to get healthy, always seems to be put to the back burner. It tends to be, just living in the moment, and versus having this, like you described, this bigger vision, and really being proactive and purpose-driven in their activities, rather than just reactionary as to what stresses and what the needs are in the moment. Yeah, I have absolutely seen the same thing.
Yeah, and I think a great exercise for people to do is, take 20 minutes or 30 minutes and start this process. Start to develop what or clarify what is that health vision. So start with a list of 10 things. What would it look like? but we know that that's just the starting point. And you mentioned purpose. Maybe you can elaborate on that. What would be the difference between having a vision and then putting a purpose behind it?
Yeah, the purpose is so key, and maybe people picked up on it when I was describing, my perfect vision for my life, and you may have noticed that there really wasn't any. I didn't say I wanted to, lose weight or get stronger or eat better. I didn't say anything that was specifically regarding my health. What I shared with you was my vision for my life, and what I recognize is that if I'm ever going to accomplish those, that vision and make that a reality, my health has to be there. I cannot achieve all of those things unless my health is fantastic. And so, when you talk about building the project, for me, the project is, what does my optimal life look like? And then that is my purpose, right? That's my why. Having an amazing relationship with my kids and with all the important relationships in my life, having this vision for a contribution bigger than myself, leaving a legacy, and being healthy enough to do all the things I want to do. Those are the things, and that's when we start talking about purpose, those are the things that you need to be clear on that are going to motivate you, they're going to fuel you, because the reality is to do those things, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort. It can be done. It's as long as you're following these key steps that we're reviewing tonight. But without that, life gets in the way. Life gets busy. And so it's this purpose that motivates us, fuels us, helps us to get up in the morning and do the things we need to do to get the things that we say we want. So I think purpose, vision helps to paint a picture of what you're trying to create in your life. But it's really identifying with that purpose that's really going to fuel you and create some sustainability around the action steps that you have to take to make it a reality. And I think if you look back and at the end of this call and look at all the different steps, I think what people, or it's been my experience anyway, is that it's the purpose part that's kind of can be hard to pin down. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I know in my life my purpose became clear because of an experience, something that was very emotional, and it was it caused me to really reflect and gain a new perspective, and that helped me to clarify my purpose. I know others through journaling as another common actions that people can take to really get clear about what their purpose is. But without that purpose, I think the action steps that you're taking towards creating that vision, you need a strong purpose to motivate you to be able to do those things day after day to move you forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what, if I can make a suggestion to the listeners is, once you started to generate the vision, so that could be, you could think of that as like, what do you want? Then the next step is to think about, why do you want it? And that's, I think, as Mike was saying, the deeper you can go, the more emotionally attached you can get to that vision, then really the more likely you are to push through in those tough times when other things press for your attention and you're tempted to shift your priorities. And I think it's to really focus on, Mike, just to put it kind of a label to what you were describing there is the life effect of being consistent about moving towards your vision, and looking at the long-term effects and the long-term contribution that you can make to the people around you. And I think that's such a crucial thing to do, especially when we're framing this around specifically around people's health. It applies to every aspect of your life. It's the number one key asset that if you lose your health, that nothing else matters. So I encourage people to take those first two steps. So just to recap, the vision, think about 10 steps, 10 things that would represent 100% health to you, and then the next step would be to just think about why are those important to you? How would they change your life? How would they make your life better? How would they impact you and the people around you? And dig deep. And once we have that crystal clear vision and a really well-defined purpose behind that vision, the next step is really to seek out a plan, to start actually setting some steps to actually start to put this vision, make it a reality. And another way to kind of think about the plan is a blueprint. And we all know, again, to go back to the building a house or renovating a house, is that it's pretty difficult to arrive at the vision you want without having a really detailed plan and seeking out the right types of people to help you to put together that detailed plan. And it's certainly something that we've spent, well, our entire careers around trying to determine, what's the best action steps, what's the best plan, what's the most successful way of making your health vision become a reality. And I think I know I've definitely experienced this, where I've fallen prey to some plans that in the end just didn't lead me in the right direction at all. I was, as an example, I was a raised vegetarian. I was vegan and raw foodist for a long time, and if there's any listeners out there that are currently vegan or vegetarian, this is not a indictment of what you're doing. You all have your own reasons, but when it comes to health, we know now that the best way to fuel your body is simply to provide. We need protein, and the best source of protein comes from animals. But I fell prey to that sort of dogmatic approach, and it really led me away from health versus toward. Here I thought I was following this, really successful plan, and yet it was actually sabotaging my goal of being as healthy as I can be. I'm not sure if you've had experience with that, Mike, or perhaps with some people in your circle.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all fallen prey to so many of these myths, and it's always fun when we're teaching the seminars just to see the what? Like, I thought that my entire life. I mean, the government said that's true, or I read this book, or what have you. So, for everyone listening, know that both John and I have fallen for many of these ourselves over the years, and really that's what, John, this story, but about 5 years ago, my sister passed away from leukemia at 29 years old, and she was, if you knew her, she was so healthy. She was that person. If she was your friend and someone asked you, is Corey healthy? And they'd be like, yeah, she's like a health freak. And she was the one who was seemingly doing it all right. And at the time, before she got sick, and I was, we were things that we had done together. I was a chiropractor at the time, and really thought I had a handle on the best way to exercise. The best action step to take as far as the health of your mind goes, about eating. Our mom was a holistic nutritionist. We grew up with this stuff. So, when she, who was seemingly so healthy, passed away at 29 years old, it was really, made me question a lot of things. And one of those things was just this idea of, okay, here I thought she was doing all the same things that I was doing, and yet she got very, very sick. And the question is why? I thought these were the best things. I mean, people who don't do these things get sick. Now, people who do, what gives? So that's really where Life by Design was created. Was me looking at the research, really, really digging in, not taking it in a dogmatic fashion, but really researching and doing my homework to see exactly what we know about, because we all know, you go to chapters and there's like hundreds of books on all of these topics, and they all contradict each other, and I can only, I know how people feel about how confusing it can be. So I mean, what I'm saying is that yes, I was there too. I was confused. I was frustrated. I had, my young sister who passed away way too early, and her lifestyle, her health choices I thought were great. And what I've learned is we were doing a lot of things really well, but there were some things that we were not doing well. And so that's really, talk about purpose. That's been my driving purpose, is to find answers to those questions so that I can live a healthier life, so I don't have to go through what she went through, that my kids can live healthy lives, that people in our community don't have to suffer like she did. So that's really where it all started for me, is just I realized that I had a lot of false beliefs about what my body needed to be healthy. I mean, I can just, a couple examples, the biggest ones, I was definitely that guy who went through the grocery store looking and only throwing things in my cart that said fat-free. That was me for years. I fell for that fad, and oftentimes people are pretty shocked to know that we recommend fat is good. Not that there's not some bad fats, but healthy fats are good, and we need to add more of them to our diet. They're not going to make us fat. They're often surprised to hear us say, grains are bad, not good. Those heart healthy grains that have been promoted by the government for years and years as, that's where most of our calories should come from, is, what is it, 7 to 11, down the bottom of the food pyramid there, whatever it might be. So people are shocked to hear that. In fact, grains are very, very low as far as nutrient density goes. And there's in fact some anti-nutrients, I'll call them that for the sake of the short conversation, where they're actually going to, be toxic to the human body. Other good ones, chronic cardio. I was so happy when I figured out that this wasn't something I had to do to be healthy. For those who know me, know that I cannot stand, any long distance activities, and not that long distance, low intensity activity like going for walks and bike rides with your kids and hiking and things like that are really great and are actually requirements for fitness and health. But this chronic daily, high intensity cardio for hours on end is not necessary and actually detrimental in a lot of ways. So I can go on and on, but there's definitely a lot of these things that I thought were true for many years, and I did for many years until I really dug in and did the research for myself and really stopped being dogmatic about what my beliefs were about the best strategies to achieve the health I was striving for.
Yeah, and and that can be such a hard thing to realize that, oh man, have I been making the wrong decisions or taking the wrong steps? It's kind of a hard pill to swallow, but if the end goal is to be as healthy as possible, then we need to be able to be willing to let go of that those dogmatic beliefs and be able to move forward and follow based on logic, reason, the best available evidence, and that's really what really well attracted me to the whole Life by Design model, is that it's this amazing framework that's based on this this root belief that we're all designed to be healthy and we're all designed to be extraordinary. And then, but that necessitates that there's certain requirements that need to be met, and then Life by Design is simply just the best strategies to to meet those requirements. Perhaps you can just kind of expand a little bit on that concept of requirements and strategies.
Yeah, it was one of those aha moments. I guess maybe the best way to explain it for the people listening is to think of a flower in your home that's wilting and it's dying. And, if that plant is in your home, if that flower is in your home, I'm certain that everyone on the call would be, quick to jump to the conclusion that maybe I should give it some water, make sure it's getting the appropriate sunlight, make sure that it's got good soil and good nutrients. And everyone I've ever asked, and I've asked tens of thousands of people, everyone knows that. That's what you do to bring a plant back to life. And so it's common sense, yet very few people use that same common sense when looking at their own health, when it's failing, when they're wilting. They rarely use that same common sense or that line of thinking in determining what their first action steps should be. So really that's one of the underlying principles of Life by Design, is that we are designed to be extraordinary. We are designed for health. It is our default. And in order to accomplish that, we have certain requirements. And there are many. I don't pretend that there's only 4, but those are the 4 main, there's 4 main ones that we teach. And that is Eat by Design, Think by Design, Move by Design, and Power by Design. And so the first 3, I think, are probably pretty common sense to people, that we need to fuel our bodies in the most optimal way for our genes to express themselves in a healthy manner. We need to move, and there are certain movement requirements, like I was alluding to earlier. There are actually requirements for the mind as well. And all these things that we're talking about tonight are really at the core of it: vision, purpose, taking action, high self-esteem. These are things that our mind requires in order to to be healthy. And the last one is really one that's probably, the others you probably could have guessed. This is probably the one that, even though we all learned in grade 1 or 2 that the brain controls the entire body, the brain sends messages through our nervous systems to every part of our body to make sure that things work properly and are coordinated properly. We all learned that somewhere along the line, it was forgotten that we actually need to do something to take care of that. And that's where Power by Design, it's all about ensuring that the brain-body connection is optimized, making sure that the brain is communicating and talking to each and every part of the body, every cell, tissue, every organ, making sure that everything's happening just the way it was designed. And if you can fulfill those 4 main requirements, you've done a lot of the work. And there's others, and obviously we need to sleep, and et cetera, et cetera. But those four requirements are really key. And so Life by Design is all about, saying, here are the 4 requirements. We know we need to fulfill those for optimal health. Now let's try and figure out what are the best strategies, what are the best action steps that people need to take, what should they be eating, how should they be moving, what should they be thinking about. What are the best ways to optimize the brain-body connection and the nervous system? That's the strategies that we've been, investigating and researching to figure out what those are. What's the best way to get from, fill the gap like we've been talking about tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone listening is interested in learning more about that concept, we are actually hosting a Eat by Design seminar coming up next Thursday night at 7:30. And I'm going to just pop this offer in here, and if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a yellow button saying sign up today, and that's your opportunity to get 2 free tickets to that seminar, and we're going to dive deep into, what are those key requirements your body has from a nutritional standpoint, what's the best way to fuel your body, and then, it really dive even deeper into, how do you actually do that, what are the steps that you need to take, what are the action steps, what are the strategies in order to satisfy those nutritional requirements. So just go ahead, click on that yellow button there, and that'll take you through to a separate page, and we'll make sure that you get access to those 2 free tickets. You just use that promo code FREETICKS. Now, we've talked about having a crystal clear vision, and then having a purpose that's there to drive that vision, drive us toward that vision. And then setting out a plan, and that's really what we've spent the last few minutes talking about, is just finding a plan that's based on truth, that's based on reality. And a great way to learn a bit more about that is by attending one of our seminars, as I mentioned. Now, we can have those 3 steps done. We can have a plan that we know is going to move us toward health, but obviously there's a necessary next step, which is to take action, and that would be the 4th step in this 5 steps to the healthy body that you want. And action should be the easiest. By the time we get to this stage, it should be just about following a series of steps, following a series of ticking boxes, basically. But when it comes down to it, it's about oftentimes it's about changing habits, and we all know that. It can be easy to jump on board a bandwagon and get through week 1 or week 2, but if we can't lock in that new healthy habit, it's so easy to fall off that bandwagon. And I know one strategy that we encourage our practice members to take is to start small. So break it down and chunk it down into really simple, actionable steps. And what we found is that, and I know, Mike, we've talked about this before, is it's a lot easier to add something in than it is to take something out, to withhold, as some people look at it. And so, as an example, you may find that, okay, I need to add some movement in. And so, it might be as simple as getting up and going for adding a 30-minute walk-in every day, or, even simply, we encourage people to just move every joint in their body every morning. It takes 8 minutes. It's super easy to do. You can do it in your PJs while your coffee's making or brewing or whatever. But it's a really easy thing to add in. And when we do add those things in and we start to get some consistency, we start to create some healthy habits, we get some early wins, and that leads to some benefits. We start to see changes, and those benefits then will drive you to take further action, maybe bite off another chunk. And again, a great first action step for anyone listening to the call is simply just to come out to a seminar, learn a little bit more, get access to a bit more information that you can choose, okay, where am I going to put my attention, 30 days, and and kind of break it down into 30-day chunks. And the last step is accountability. And this is something that perhaps there's some of the listeners may not be familiar with. Mike, maybe you can introduce them to this concept of accountability.
Absolutely. This is, I started the call off by saying there's been, many things I've learned and something that I've been surprised at in my 10 plus years of practice. And this was another one of them. Is there's been a lot of people over the years, more than I would have guessed, that knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing. They come and they know exactly what Eating by Design is. They know exactly how they should be moving. But the thing they're looking for is someone to hold them accountable. Someone to just make sure they follow through and do the things they know they should be doing on their own. And accountability can be a really, really powerful thing. And another action step for the listeners tonight is that once you've figured out all the other steps, you've got your action plan, tell somebody. Even if you're a Facebook user, get on Facebook and announce it to everyone what that little thing is you're going to start doing for the next 30 days. Just tell somebody, it doesn't matter who it is, and give that person permission to check in on you, maybe even daily, and bug you and nag you and make sure that you do the things that you said you were going to do. And there's something powerful about, sharing that with a friend, because we don't want to let that friend down. We want to stay in high integrity, that we don't want to break our word, we don't want to break our promise, we want to do what we said we were going to do. I think that's what's powerful about accountability, is it holds, integrity is a strong virtue for a lot of us, and so that holds us true to doing what we said we were going to do. And what's funny, I don't even think I've shared this yet with you, John. I did mention this new little app I found called Habit Clock, and it's not a person; it's a little app on my phone. But essentially, I have a very a list of 6 things I do every single morning that are just key habits for me for success and to have a great day and to move me towards that bigger vision. And you know what? I was thinking about this morning when I was checking the boxes, because since I've started using it, in terms of how I've completed those tasks and the quality of how I've completed those tasks has really increased. And this might sound weird, but I have some level of accountability to my phone to make sure that every day on the little calendar it gives me a little check mark. I know that may sound really weird to you, but I just had this feeling this morning, like, man, I don't want to disappoint the phone and get an X. I want the check mark. So I think about that this morning. That accountability might even be just with your phone. It's probably even more powerful with a human being. But this is powerful. Take advantage of this. Once you've got it all figured out, tell somebody. Maybe look up Habit Clock. It's a free app. I think it was free on my iPhone. I'm sure you can get it on other devices. But tell someone. Get someone to hold you accountable. That will really increase your chance of success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I've been so much more successful at getting things accomplished in my life since I've learned this concept, and of course you've been a great accountability partner for me. So I've definitely seen it in action. And for the listeners, I think there's really a few different options, as Mike said. Using leveraging social media, putting it up to mentioning to a few friends if you've got a goal for introducing a new habit into your life. Reach out and ask for help. And also that's a part of what we do in practice is, we help people to stay on track. We always come to an agreement about what their particular goals are, what their health objectives are, both short term and long term, and then our job is really to, with permission, is to hold them accountable, make sure that they're being consistent with those action steps that we know are going to move them in that direction. And so if you're in one of those individuals that is looking for a little bit more concrete accountability and clear direction, then certainly reach out to us. You can send us an email directly from right from this page, actually, and or from the login page. And we're more than happy to answer your questions, give you direction, and really that's our, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is what we're passionate about this stuff. We really want to help as many people as possible to reach their goals of really getting to that true health potential that we know that every human being has. So just a quick recap here. These 5 steps, if you were to put this into practice, I would go as far as to say that, there's I'm guaranteeing that you're going to notice dramatic changes in your health. And so, it all starts by really, even before creating the vision, is just accepting reality and knowing where you're at now, and really starting from that position to looking, okay, where do you, if you're not happy with that, then where do you want to be? So then start developing your vision, putting the purpose behind it. So that's going to be the fuel that's going to drive you to make that vision a reality. Then you need to find a plan that actually is going to really truly move you in that direction. And we've mentioned a few different examples of how you can get hung up on some false plans, some plans that may move you in the wrong direction. And so, be careful. Make sure that you do your research and you understand the process that's built in there. And once you have a plan, then you just start taking action. And it's always best to just start with small chunks. Really, break it down into small, easy steps. Better to add something in than to try and cut something out. And celebrate the wins. Make sure that you give yourself a pat on the back. Make sure you allow yourself to feel satisfaction from those early wins, particularly, and that's going to drive further action. And the last thing is that as you're starting to take action, tell someone about it. Reach out, get some accountability. That's going to dramatically increase your chances of staying on track. So I hope you guys found that valuable. Mike, any last comments?
No, yes, I have one last comment. This framework that we've gone through tonight, this framework, these principles can be applied to achieve everything in your life. This is not just applicable to health. These are principles of success that if you follow this formula, no matter what it is that you want to achieve in your life, this is a really, really powerful formula. So it definitely applies to health, and as long as you're taking the right action steps, there's no doubt, like John said, you're going to achieve the goals and the vision that hopefully you're going to take the time to write out after tonight's call. There's no doubt, but I also wanted to make the point that this 5-step process is one that can be applied to any area of life that you're looking to improve upon.
Yeah, absolutely. The definition of a true principle, right? It can be applied across any aspect of our lives. Learned that from you. All right, so I've had a lot of fun on this call, and I look forward to doing many more of these webinars. Please pass us along your questions, comments, feedback, and again, if you're interested in learning some more about Life by Design, particularly Eat by Design specifically, we'll be hosting that event next Thursday. We'd love to see you there. Please come up and introduce yourselves if you were on this webinar call. And yeah, until then, have a great evening, and really start seeking toward that healthy body that you want.
Thanks, everybody.